What is up, everybody? It is your boy Sands, and it is Monday night. We are here for all of the smoke, ladies and gents. And what I mean by that is we have come together tonight on wine, cheese, and comics, please, to talk UF4, specifically the one from C2E2, the madness that occurred this weekend. We know that there's so much drama going on. We got to break this all down and then talk to you about what the ramifications are, man. There is so much going on with this, but enough about me. Let me bring in my co-hosts and also some of these special guests that we got lined up for you. Ladies and gents, y'all know this gentleman. Y'all love this gentleman. The one and only Fat Thor himself, a.k.a. Last Level Comics. What's up, Matt? You got your popcorn, bro?
Oh, it's gonna be a show, my man. I had to go get a nice, fresh, hot bowl of popcorn, my beer, because there's a lot to unpack on this one, man. No time for wine, no time for cheese. We're getting down right to it.
We got to get into it, my brother. I see you with the exclusive. You got the exclusive back there already.
This is the wine and cheese Ultimate Fallout 4 Dumpster Fire controversial exclusive. We're gonna be selling this tonight for 75 cents. I'm hoping to put it on Whatnot later for at least 150, but we're gonna start it slow, just 75. There's only one copy.
I say we go free 99, man.
Free 99.
It's got to be free 99.
Free 99. Okay.
That controversial piece of shit. Here we go. All right, ladies and gents, this is one half of my co-host team. The next, you know him, you love him, the time traveler himself. He told us about this about a month ago. He said, Sands, Matt, get ready because there's going to be some controversy. He came back to the future from the past. He said, let's do this tonight. I said, all right, Kyle, it's your world. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. My man, promiscuous time traveler in the building. What's up, DJ Time Traveler?
What up, man? First off, cheers to the chat. This is the first show that I do not have wine, because there's no way that I'm going to get through this and be coherent towards the end of it. But I do have my cheese right here on deck, and I got some Chipotle also in a bowl. So
your food actually got delivered the show?
My food actually got to. That was the problem, man. I was like panicking during last show because I was like 3/4 of the way through the bottle, and I'm like, yo, my food got canceled. I made another order, my food got canceled, and I'm sitting here with like
has arrived. That's crazy.
Food has arrived.
We usually don't get Kyle's food until like midway through the show and some nachos show up or something crazy. So take away the wine and the sake, you actually have food on time. That is craziness.
Yes.
Now, Kyle, one of the things, man, you have been all over this, man. You've been scouring the forums. You're like the roving report. You are a breaking news guy, man. This guy has been Johnny on the spot, man. So we're looking.
I've been in all the live chats. Like I've been messaging people all day about it, trying to get the actual like information, because it's tough for people to say that like, hey, you weren't there, you don't know what's happening. But everybody who creates like these videos, it's more of like an emotional response. And then a lot of the times, if you go back and watch some of these videos in like 2 weeks or so, more information will surface, and we're just trying to like give you a collective of what's going on and get some firsthand accountings, get some secondhand accountings, and figure out a solution and actually have a conversation about it. So that's
what I'm loving about this, man, because so many people are actually taking the time to speak out, right? And
absolutely,
you got some toxic, and you got some productive, right? So we got to weed through it. We got to weed through it.
Just to enjoy the show.
All right, y'all. I got a special guest panel member right here. My man has one of the dopest YouTube channels, y'all, breaking all kind of news. Not only news, but he also teaches you so much about your collection, going into how to store, how to buy, how to be a comic book connoisseur. This man has crafted, such a unique profile in terms of what he does for the community. Let me introduce y'all to a special guest on this channel, the one, the only, Chris from Journal Comics. What's up, Chris?
going on, guys? Man, I really
Hey.
appreciate those words, Stan. So I'm just honored to be here, man. You know, it's been a crazy couple of days, and this is definitely something that I'm passionate about, and it's a conversation that I think needs to continue to be had. I will say, I apologize because I don't drink. 9 years without a drink.
Hey,
And
no pressure on that. No
I
pressure.
don't eat dairy either, so I'm kind of like,
Oh no.
I'd share my popcorn, but you're not here.
There you go.
The absolute
this
bane
is
to your
a safe
existence.
space, my brother.
Yeah.
No pressure ever.
Appreciate it.
But I appreciate you coming through, man. You have such a unique perspective on this. You talked about kind of the inside workings of this, some of the things you've heard. And you also talked about some of the toxic components of this with the community as well, because this can go way nuclear in terms of how we deal with some of the fallout and some of the people involved, right? So we got a lot to unpack. I got another gentleman joining us in the background. Open forum tonight. My man from the West Coast, but he's hailing from the Dirty, the one and only Nola Comics. What's up, Nola? How you doing tonight?
What's up, my friends? How we all doing? And
Doing good.
Journos, don't worry. I will eat enough dairy for both of us, my friend.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
There you go. There you go. Milk. That is not milk, ladies and gents. Do not believe him. He's not. So, all right, y'all. Let me shout out who's in the chat already, because y'all know we love our chat members. Billy Badass is in the building early.
Get him out of here,
man.
Get him out of here.
Welcome. Lisa Noble, the one and only homie, is in the building. We got Liz Barnes hanging now. Hello, the homie Star Jang is in the building.
What up, Star?
Y'all, do me a favor, smash that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend. We know a lot is going on tonight, but keep spreading the word because we're about to break some stuff down. All right, so there's so many facets to this, gents. There's so many facets. You got phase 1, the actual production of this book. You got this Ultimate Fallout 4, but let's tell a story. Matt, can you go ahead and take us through what this is and what's going on? And then let's dive into the first aspect. Phase 1 is going to be the book itself and how it's created. Phase 2 is going to be, CGC and everything to do with that. And phase 3 is influencers and everything from that standpoint. Matt, take it away. Let's talk about it.
So I got to keep this short and sweet because you've all heard it often. We know the retailer, Black Flag Comics. We know the book, Ultimate Fallout 4. This is a Clayton Crane C2E2 variant acetate wraparound cover, limited to 750 copies. So that's the facts. Now, what you don't know about this book, and if you haven't heard 1,001 times, it's not a new book. It is an old book that didn't sell 6 months ago that they had left lying around. And this is where the controversy starts. Some will say, oh, they went shiesty. Others will say they thought outside the box. But they came up with this acetate wraparound cover themselves, not approved through Marvel, put the acetate cover on their old book from last year, double stapled it, making it a 4-staple copy of the book, and labeled it something new. So they physically altered the original book last year with the acetate cover, and then they sold it at C2E2 as an exclusive. So that's the book. So the breakdown is what they did wrong, or was it genius, but they weren't transparent about what they did?
Let me turn it over to our special guest to weigh in on this. The question is genius or shady as fuck, basically, is the question. Journal, Nola, you guys weigh in on this, please.
Well, I think right now, if we're looking specifically on the production of it, because how they marketed it and then sold it, I still think that's a separate thing.
I agree.
So let's look at how they produced it. There's a couple of ways to look at it. One, there's really no problem with them putting this acetate on it and essentially selling it. Because let me give you an example. I know there's a lot of artists that do the where they'll take a cover and they use, I'm an artist myself, and I don't even know.
It's the foil thing, right? Where it makes it like glossed, but it's
You remember old school? You remember old school projectors, like when you went to school and they put the plastic image on the projector and you saw on the screen.
Yeah.
No. Oh no. I'm just
Oh, you're talking about something else.
Acetate is. I'm talking about there's artists that will take a cover and they'll do their own. They'll like draw on top of the cover.
Yep.
And they'll sell it like as their own art. So if anybody owns a comic book and wants to add something to it and call it a creative piece of art or whatever, you're not breaking any copyright laws. You're not breaking any trademark laws. But where there's a fine line here that they're writing is, first off, this is their own book. This is their own exclusive variant that they have in a licensed agreement with Marvel. The Clayton Crane, the original Clayton Crane Ultimate Fallout 4 facsimile copy that they had to put in at least a 3K minimum order with Marvel. That is their book. They signed a license agreement to produce and sell that book. So where there's a fine line of ethics here is now they're altering the book and calling it something else. Now they're calling it a new exclusive. So that's where it can almost break the contractual agreement.
And that's what we're talking. Yes,
Exactly.
They've come back and labeled it a revision. That's their new term. It's a revision.
So, Journal, if this, in your opinion, if this came out in November of last year,
yep,
and we get this book at a con, let's even say they put the cover on last year, but they held it until now. Something about this still smells fishy to me because it's not transparent from the Marvel side,
right,
or towards the customer in terms of how this acetate got on.
Right. Yeah. Because I think a lot of buyers and consumers and collectors are going into it thinking like this is something brand new, you know, officially brand new. It's not official, you know, call it a creative altered art piece. Fine. But it's not some official C2E2 exclusive. It's not an exclusive at all. A new exclusive. It is an old exclusive. So I do feel that the marketing is not transparent at all. We know, I wouldn't say we know. We got to be careful on how we use the word fact today,
Correct.
Because
we
are assuming it to be so from sources that Marvel was not aware of this. So there is a lack of transparency here. And another thing I want to add real quick is,
and really quick, shout out to Bronze Age Nerd. Who kind of broke it down and said, per his sources, and I talked to Bronze Age today. He said, per his sources, this right here was not Marvel official.
Correct.
He said Marvel is playing catch up with this. And from what I'm hearing is Black Flag is looking to do this at Boston Fan Expo.
3 other
and
books.
Marvel is not happy with that as well. So, yes, back to your point. And then I want to hear from Nola.
Yeah, for sure. Just to add one more thing too, and again, everyone watching, you guys this is where we have to be very careful with us and the responsibility of us being in front of a screen and having an audience. Nothing of what I say right now is a fact. I actually don't know, but being that we're where we're at, it's very intriguing, and I need to go play detective, and I encourage everyone else to go play detective. But don't just assume things. Get your facts, and that is, we know that this was a produced comic, an exclusive for Black Flag back in November, the Clayton Crane original variant, right? We know that they had to order X amount with Marvel when they do these exclusives. Usually, you know, they limit them to 1,500 or 1,000, but you know, or we know, if you don't know, if you do an exclusive with Marvel, the minimum is 3,000. So you're trusting these dealers or these retailers to be honest with you about what they're doing with these other books that they're not including in their print run. So are they ripping them up? Are they destroying them? We don't know. So I've heard, I don't know for a fact, I've heard that when Black Flag originally released the Clayton Crane Ultimate Fallout 4 Facsimile Edition 6 to 8 months ago, whenever that was, I heard that they sold out. So if they
no.
And again, I don't know this to be fact, but if they sold out, where did another 750 copies come from for them to now alter?
That's what I'm telling you. That book was everyone I've talked to no one likes this cover. No one liked the rendition. And I want to hear from Nola. Nola, with regards to this, what is your take in terms of how Black Flag handled this and your, as a collector, your initial thoughts on this book? Because you and I talked, and you was like, hey, you posted this initially and was like, gents, we gonna buy this. And 3-4 days later, how are you feeling considering that you wanted to buy this book and knowing the difference in terms of what this product is now versus what we thought it was?
So full disclosure, first of all, I did buy one. So I have one coming, and I'm curious to see what it looks like in person. And actually, at this point, I don't even care. This book is so ridiculous. I want to have one just to have one. But as far as Black Flag goes, there is only one entity in all of this amongst influencers, sellers, collectors who is at fault. Only one.
CGC.
And that is Black Flag.
No.
Black Flag had ultimate control over everything that happened with this, and they used it to their advantage, and that's fine. That's on them. But when you're dealing with people who think they're getting one thing and then getting something else, and then you're cutting side deals, which, by the way, happens all the friggin' time.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
They were just dumb enough to do it on the floor of a con for some reason. And
Yeah, that's the
book.
We're going to talk about that because we don't want, again, I want to think about, listen, people are people, man. I know a lot of people are upset, man, and what they saw was what they saw, but we also got to think about how we come at people and how we, blast them, because listen, no one wants anything on their conscience on how they're treating people, man. Take the subjectivity out of it and think about it. There's a lot of deals that happen all the time. And so we're going to get on that topic.
Right.
But yes, preach, Nola.
Right. That's what I was saying. I might be the only one on here. I don't hold any of these people. And again, like Journo said, we're assuming facts.
Exactly.
Very few of us know anything. But the one thing we do know is that Black Flag did this just about as badly as they could. They took and honestly, what they did is genius. You asked at the beginning, is it genius?
There it is.
It's fucking genius.
Chat.
And they got
Is
away
this
with
genius?
Is
this genius?
Again.
So time out. If we can only talk about facts and you're saying it's genius, and Black Flag's goal was to get rid of these copies that were sitting around, how is Black Flag wrong? They did exactly what they wanted to do. They got rid of all their copies, whether it was through influencers or people buying them. Yes, they were shady in the fact that they didn't say that it was a previously copy with a new acetate cover. I can't argue that there. But factual things, they sold it exclusively at C2E2. It was an acetate cover on a book. You could only get it there, even though there was pre-orders, again, assuming facts. But the biggest fact of the matter is they edited or upgraded or manipulated an existing book.
When you say that, you put the onus on the buyer, the buyers to be knowledgeable. Journal, Kyle, when you hear about that, if I'm the buyer, man, how do you feel? Like Nola said, he has this book coming in. 4 days later, you find out this book got extra staples. This book has all kind of controversy behind it. I just wanted a dope exclusive. Now I got what some will consider a piece of trash, and some will consider, oh, this is like a kind of rare anomaly. But how would you feel as a consumer? Matt is putting the onus on the consumer to say, buyer beware, you need to know better. And I'm home buying.
I want to say this. I'm a businessman before anything, and I get a lot of hate about that, but I see from both sides all the time. You have to, if you want to have a valid argument in any case in life. But to answer what Matt was saying, we could get into like Kantian, philosophy here, and when we talk about ethics and morals, the bottom line is why it's wrong is because we need to regulate life. we have not to say it's always right. It's like I said, we could go down the Kantian rabbit hole and we'll get nowhere, but we have to hold each other in check. There are rules and etiquettes to everything in life. I mean, we can't leave things unchecked when you're running a business. The success of a business, and I'll explain it right here. This It's not genius. I will argue that it's not genius. Why? Because they are thinking of the quick fix. Because there is so much flack coming onto them that it boils down to consumer perception. So they may be laughing all the way back. Oh, look, we got creative and found a way to sell these 750 copies for buku bucks. But now, are they going to be able to sustain and retain the consumer perception with all the backlash? That's why you go into look at. I'll sum it. I'll end up here real quick, but look at big companies like McDonald's and even Walmart at this point. They're starting to realize, you guys, when we were backstage, you guys were talking about purchasing power. Yes. We as consumers have purchasing power, and we're getting smarter with our purchasing power. And even big companies like McDonald's are going like all natural beef or organic because so many people are demanding these things. I don't think if you want to be a business that has staying power, you need to understand consumer perception means more than a quick buck. And I think they shot themselves in the foot with this one.
Except for the fact that they're doing it again with 3 more books in a week.
And all
so
the only thing that people are talking about is Black Flag.
Themselves in the foot that they're not only doubling down, they're tripling down, and they're fucking quadrupling down on this whole project.
And that's why we have these conversations, because and this goes, and I don't want to get too deep into this right now because I think we're going to get into that later, but this goes to how it's the funny thing about all these people that champion, I'm standing up, I'm calling these people out because I'm standing up for the community. But it just becomes, it's a perpetuation of such toxicity on their end that it creates a further divide, and it actually it pushes us further away from actually solving anything and holding anybody accountable, because nobody ever learns, nobody ever creates a dialogue that says, how can we actually hold them accountable? All we do is go on Twitter and Instagram and social media and rant, but then we go to sleep, we wake up, it's another day, it's the same thing. They keep
so gents, Black Flag, or I heard from some people saying Black Flag is the culprit. I heard from some people saying buyer just beware. I heard from some people saying CGC, which we'll talk about. But right now, are you buying anything from Black Flag going forward? And does Clayton Crane need to worry about his brand and what happens with the fallout from this book?
Am I buying anything moving forward? No, because I didn't like how this even looked. So regardless of how cool the idea is, it doesn't appeal to me as a buyer. Is Clayton Crane, going to rethink himself? I think he needs to heavily rethink himself. But again, it is what it is. Clayton Crane didn't sign off on this. He just was contracted to do the design. He did the design. He gave it to Black Flag. That's it.
Correct.
So,
The only reason Clayton Crane should even be slightly spooked by this is the fact that it's a shitty cover.
Exactly.
It's a shitty, and it looks rushed. But I mean, as far as this controversy, no, it's got nothing to do with him.
Get my man a soapbox.
But Black Flag does a lot of exclusive for Clayton Crane, so we're playing.
But he's Clayton Crane. He can go anywhere.
Right.
He's Clayton Crane.
His name is on the back of this book, though.
He's part of the Okay.
His name is on the back of this book. How do we say he has no onus on this in terms of controlling the product that goes out?
He created the book. He didn't have anything to do with the marketing. He didn't tell them to staple this on his old cover. Now, did he know that it was happening? Of course, and we'll prove that a little later by his IG comment. So I mean, yes, we'll get to that.
All right. So here's where we are, ladies and gents. We're talking about right now Black Flag and their ability to go back. Welcome, who that, by the way.
Thank you for letting me bump the line on top of Kyle, man. I feel like I was.
Hey, did you just cut the line like an influencer?
I've been here for 24 minutes, and who that gets to talk before me? I get it.
But here's the thing: we talked about Black Flag and whether it's creative genius or some type of comic book nightmare in terms of what they've done. But at the end of the day, they've now sold out. They've created a hot and controversial market. And does controversy still sell in this situation? Because what is this book going for?
300.
300. Journal. Would you still buy this book right now?
I'm not big on variants, so I'm the wrong person to ask. I never spend more than cover price on a variant for the most part. So nope.
Got you. So the FOMO didn't hit you, but we heard Nola said, "Who that? Would you have bought this book? I know you bought some SDCC. Would you have bought this book
I didn't buy anything. I didn't buy anything from any con recently. I would not buy this book because I really don't like the cover. And I've seen some sales on Whatnot hit 180, so it's already dipping.
But it's dipping, but it's still $80 over the $100 that potentially someone paid. I mean,
that's true.
but
$80 profit, $80 profit. That's 80% up.
I'm sorry, I don't know how you're traveling, but I know I can't travel for $80. So I know food is like expensive. So I mean,
and we're gonna get to some of this.
The $100 by the way. The $100 by the way is $20 more than the $80 they were charging before they decreased the amount of comics they had by selling 300 comics to 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Hey, watch out. Look at little man.
He's trying to get his screen time. Yo, man, give him his screen time. Give him his screen time.
But listen, all right. So let's get into the CGC component of this.
We didn't go to Kyle. Don't you cut my man.
All right, Kyle, with the Turok showing all kinds of goodness.
Oh, these aren't Turoks. No.
You changed the cover.
This is Tobak, the Binosaur Bunter. This is Porb, the influencer hunt. It's actually Dino Hunt, and this is Black Flag's USPCA Saving Dinosaurs variant. So we gotta.
Kyle, you mad? Are you mad?
Am I mad?
Let's get him off the show. He's got to go, y'all. That we can't have the.
I'm back here, Kyle. I'm an innocent man.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have like a comment kind of for later on, but I wanted to know kind of from everybody here what they thought in the aspect of when this was released. Like I'm really mincing my words because I'm just going to say what I want to say. All right.
Go.
Do it.
This was a perfect storm of people like cronyism and nepotism in a sense, where somebody can literally go ahead of somebody else and buy a bunch of covers, and people that have been waiting there for hours get relegated to 2 and have to pay a higher price. Like that seems bonkers to me. The fact that it was done in front of people is kind of the at a big con. Like they could have gotten away with this in a sense of not
behind the scenes.
Yeah, like they could have had an actual pre-sale, which they didn't.
Right.
They could have put some kind of rules, some kind of post, but then everybody plays the victim and starts deleting their posts and blocking comments and making statements. The main thing that I wanted to talk about was, what do you all think about different people making statements about this? Whether it be somebody who bought 75 comics and literally disclosed how much they invested into it, and they're probably not going to get their money back because of how polarizing this is, or the individual that bought the 9.8 that now has a rare comic because it wasn't sanctioned, and it's just literally is perfect as my comics are right here. Like I can submit these according to this logic, and it just depends on how my penmanship was and how good I was with a stapler. I just don't understand.
Not here to talk about any creator in a sense of putting them down. We're just talking about what the facts are and how they happen. And so you see from this standpoint, the type of sales that were going on, some of the people who have been targeted because they have the capacity or the ability to make the deals that others had to stand in line and wait. And so this is where it becomes drama on the second end, because you now have the Whatnot machine is what they're focused on, and some of the major players who were able to get content before other people, who were able to get these comics before other people and then resell them at phenomenal prices.
Yeah. And again, that was before the controversy could get out. So again, they got in front of the line before anyone else, got theirs, and immediately went to selling platforms before the facts came out.
Yeah, and each individual aspect of this, whether it be Whatnot, whether it be C2E2, whether it be Black Flag, whether it be the people purchasing the comic books, all gives everybody a platform to put their input into what actually happened here, and we actually have a conversation about it. Granted, we have to piecemeal a lot of it together, and that's why we made it an open forum, because we wanted to talk to people who have already talked about this topic. As more information gets put out there, like we were just constantly going back and forth, like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? Oh, I talked to this person. It was just a conglomerate. It makes me happy that the community can get together and actually have a conversation about it. And that's what I think is beautiful about something like this. And
Right.
I appreciate trying to find a solution rather than to just sit here and complain and be like, I didn't get my book. Like, who cares? We're here to solve a problem. And I think the biggest problem of this is the validity of CGC and the nepotism that goes behind exclusive covers.
So who that and Journal wanted to talk to you guys specifically about this in terms of what the reaction of the community over these last or so. Right, Journal, you've done a YouTube post on, and who that you've been seeing all of the reaction, and you have a lot of connections out there. What is it that is happening right now in reaction to what we're calling influencers, whether they be social media, whether it be, a part of a organization? What is this reaction? Why is it so visceral? Because these things have happened in the past in terms of, when you think of a Scorpion Comics or one of these other comics, everyone knows, like, hey, I go to get that drop. It sold out in 2 minutes because they had pre-sales and everyone was able to buy 15, 25, 30 copies ahead of time and then resell them. There's no difference here, except for the fact that it was out open on the floor and that the people in line then had to deal with a bumped up price. So what are you seeing right now in terms of the fallout for these specific social media influencers, different things? And is this normal, or are we entering a different age, a different phase? Who that, Journal? You guys jump into.
I'll let you take the floor, man.
There's a lot of stuff that because I know a lot of people from IG on Elite Comics 11.
Mhm.
I'm in a little group with that. I'm in a lot of different little groups on IG. And first off, I know for a fact one guy who, well, let me say that when people make videos,
Mhm.
you don't have to drop unneeded information. I'm just going to put that out there. And this is coming from my background where I work. People don't ask for certain information. You don't need to drop that information. And I'm only going to say this because this person dropped this information. I didn't know Skeff was even in line and bought 125 until I watched a video about it. I didn't even know he was involved until somebody made a video about it. And so that information didn't really need to be put out there and put,
They call that dry snitching where I'm from. So yeah, I
was trying to cover your own ass.
I'm trying to keep the wine and cheese, but not the Coke 45
right,
and cheese.
Right.
But on the IG side of like Elite Comics 11, like a group, some of the coolest members of the community, man, that I've been involved with, they're basically laughing at this and not laughing at us as far as people who are collectors and buyers and stuff. They're laughing at the guys who you do this stuff and you think you're just gonna get away with it. I mean, like, I don't care if somebody told you, hey man, can you buy me 10? Hey, can you buy me 10? Like, if I'd have been in line thinking about this whole situation happening, I'd have been like, does this look right for me buying 125 in front of, like, this doesn't even look right. I know I'm buying this many from for myself, and this, but that doesn't look right. And when you got other people in line, especially when somebody drops a video right after that,
yeah,
and he went viral about it, and but I don't think people were thinking overall. That's what a lot of things. I don't think people were thinking, not with their heads. They're thinking with their wallets. And
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's the right way to go. Like, I mean, you know how much 125 copies of this cost? $10,000.
I know. Yeah,
I heard numbers of 16,000.
Yeah, well, when I heard those weird
5.
numbers, it didn't make any sense because when you tell me
But
exact
the gentleman
number,
you're talking about, who comes on the cookie shop, you know, we're friends with Skeff, and I am
like,
not here to blast anyone. We're just
no, no.
And that's why I kind of said how I said it. I'll say I'm only putting this out there because I heard it from another video.
But there was obviously more he was owed because he was like, "Hey, I need the rest of those," is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And what happened was, and I'm only speaking of what I was told from Skeff. He was. It almost felt like he was set up. I just want to say it like that. That's how I was reading that statement because he was asked by a whole bunch of different people to buy these books. But that's why I kind of say people got to think when you're doing this. Like I just told him, like, man, I can't do. Like, if you'd asked me to buy 1 or 2, it's different. But you asking me to buy 10 to 20, per person for like 10 people, and I'd have been like, I can't do that, man. That's too much. But I mean, on the ID side, they just kind of people just like a lot of people don't even know what's going on. They just can't believe that people would do that. That's all I'm saying. You think you're an influencer and this, that, and you're not supposed to influence that way. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's
Journal. What's your take on this, Journal?
Man, where do I begin? I think everyone, quite honestly, is too hyper focused on every little word that everyone is saying.
That's cool.
I think we need to step back and get back to just looking at why this was wrong in the first place. And was it Matt that said it? I forget who said it just earlier. This not that we can't hold a lot of different people accountable for something here, but Black Flag set this up to happen because of them perpetuating this from a very unethical business standpoint.
Yep.
Period. Yeah. But then it doesn't stop there. But then just kind of like what who that was saying, it's like then we can let's then let's not take that in and start attacking people. Like bring up that little 2 things here. You had the little meat or the little screenshot of a post that was on Instagram. I want to say 2 things. One, even if we know somebody was involved, there was an influencer or whatnot seller or YouTuber selling, and they got multiple copies, right? Instead of just hopping on social media and dropping clown emojis and calling them names and acting like a child, reach out to them and say, what were you thinking? Like,
but a lot of people got blocked for even asking questions. That's the only difference. A lot of people got blocked for they went to Black Flag, they went to these people and they got blocked or kicked out.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about Black Flag's another thing.
Yeah.
But when we talk about influencers, if you're genuinely going up and trying to have a conversation with them and they're blocking you, that's a problem. And then obviously they're putting a wall up to where we can have a conversation. And then if you need to address that publicly, so be it. But most of these people I know aren't even nobody's, and it's like us right here. Like, you guys invited me on, and maybe I am the gray area here. I'm not leaning on one side or the other. I don't know to exactly, where all you guys stand. And I'm not trying to be a yes man to you guys, but like, let's hit up Gem Mint. Let's say, in which I plan on doing.
I invited Jim. Jim is a busy man. I invited Jim. I wanted all sides of this.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. There you go.
And I exchanged DMs with him too, and we were chatting about it. Like, I'm trying to get the story together.
But the hard part is they can't differentiate from those that truly want the story to promote the truth versus those that just want to bash and get their 15 minutes of fame to say, F you, you did this, you did wrong. That's the problem. And
but
the fact that they get
there, Matt.
But they get like 200 messages a day, man.
The guys who are toxic, who are bashing, and then the guys who are not acknowledging.
But at this point,
when you don't acknowledge, it becomes a bigger issue.
I got a really perfect example to give you guys to address to that. I did a couple videos. It's been like a couple years now, I think, when I first really started doing my channel. I did a couple videos disagreeing with Key Collector. All right. And I was disagreeing with a few specific things. I wasn't saying the app is horrible, the app is bad. I disagreed with a couple of labels of first and second appearances that they had on their
and
app.
I've watched those videos. Kudos to you, brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in those videos, I sat there and said, this isn't a personal attack on Nick. I would like to have a conversation with Nick, but I disagree with this. I think we need some transparency. This is why I feel this way. Boom, boom, boom. I reached out to Nick. He emailed me once, and then he like stopped replying. And then I'm like, so what's going on? Like, why aren't we having a conversation? So I came back and did another video. This is why Key Collector is wrong with this. And then you know what started happening? I started getting all the pitchfork people started getting in my chats and in my comments. That's right, Journo. Literally, they were like, let's go, man. We're gonna mollywop Nick. You know, man, I'm gonna beat him down to the curb, and we're like personal attacks. And I'm like, whoa, like death to Key Collector. Like, yo, nope, I'm not your spokesperson, right?
Right.
So
right.
I came and had to do this whole intent versus perception thing. But this is the point I'm trying to make here. That's a perfect example about why maybe people like Jim or Comic Tom or people that have these large followings, why they're so apprehensive to even do anything. This is why. There finally came a point in time where I reached back out to Nick and I said, because Nick started, he left some comments in some of my videos after that, and I don't think he should have. I think he was emotional and he was kind of reactionary. And I'm like, Nick, I reached out to him. We got to have a phone call. We finally had a phone call, and we talked.
Man to man, have that dialogue.
Yep, we talked for over an hour. Ever since then, we have both learned from each other, and we've been building a relationship. And I understand. I am empathetic to why Nick closed up and didn't want to respond. Why? Because all these guys are so used to walking on eggshells, saying anything, doing anything, and what does the community do? They react, get the pitchfork, and point the finger, and death to all these people, and it's so strange. So I'm not saying that it's right, because anytime you shut the door on a conversation, it's not going to be productive. But at least I understand. And I want to say one more thing here that's very important. And it goes to this top image here, which was shared by a individual on Instagram. I won't say his name here.
We invited him.
No name. We invited him. No name needed.
We invited him. He wasn't available.
Yep.
I know specifically the history. Yep. I wanted you guys to have that conversation as to why and why not. But
and here's what got me into this. The first thing I heard about this was from Bronze Age Nerds video. And at that point in time, all there was some random Facebook post in a group of some random person saying, I was in line and this, that, and this. And I commented on that video and said, Bronze, love Bronze. By the way, I said, I probably wouldn't even touch this because I know exactly what's going to happen. And I know exactly who's going to get the finger pointed at. And who is it? Comic Tom and everyone affiliated with him. And then guess what happens? They're the first people to get attacked. And now,
isn't that a shame?
Yep.
But not only that, people who weren't even at the event.
They weren't even there.
In the brunt, right? But you're guilty by association.
Yep.
At that point in time.
And it's funny because people think when we say when Jay, even Jason of Black Flag admitted it, influencers getting special treatment, he admitted it. We act like the only influencers or big sellers on Whatnot are Comic Tom and his friends like that. So that's what's absolutely crazy. So I am empathetic to why people are apprehensive to even have a discussion because they don't know when somebody's going to come and attack them, and it puts them in a situation that they need to be in.
That's really well put. Right. Yeah, I like that.
And honestly, tensions are too high. Tensions are way too high. You gotta let this thing just simmer for a minute. It's fresh in the brains everywhere.
Like
people are like,
no one's got out ahead of this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, Matt, with regards to a couple things, I wanted to ask you guys specifically regarding CBSI, right? And these are
Yeah.
good people. But how did this book get on the hot 10?
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Before this book even hit the
20
radar,
minutes.
like
It was 20 minutes after the release, like they started selling. 20 minutes after they started selling, or
so
whatever
when
they
you
sold
bring
out.
up a key collector and you bring up the CBSIs of the world, now this is the next phase of this, because already on a top 10, this book is number 2 when nobody really should have known about it because the con didn't start until Friday this year.
Exclusive.
So Kyle,
exactly.
man, how do we get that? How do we get this at number 2 already when no one should have known about this? Like, I know you get a couple days advance, like, hey, we're doing this, but that book at number 2 sent the book through another stratosphere. And Stein, look, shout out to Stein, shout out to McClay. Those are my guys. I just want to know how something like that comes about.
And look, I got to go back to thorough insider trading, man. It felt like the biggest insider trading plug in history. Like if this was Wall Street, the FBI would be investigating this this morning. They would have been involved at questioning people, because the fact that it was announced, up, down, sold out, influencers gone, CGC. Like it was the biggest backdoor trade in history if you think about it.
Yeah, and they're gearing up for it next week.
Except it wasn't backdoor; it was out on the front porch. That's the problem.
Exactly. It was like amateur hour of let's get this going. Like, but
it was
I gotta
a little
stick
bit
to
of
the
ignorance
facts.
in that aspect.
I got to stick to the facts, and I told Journal we were only going to debate on the facts tonight.
Yeah,
quite
that's
frankly,
what it's all about. We don't
the
want
facts
to
of why it was number 2. I have no idea. The facts that why these influencers got ahead, I don't know, but they had a conversation with Black Flag, and there was an agreement set. The fact that it impacted the people on the line, that exclusive's now free. I don't know, but I wasn't there. But
could it be? Because I'm not too familiar with these hot 10 lists. So what hot 10 list was on? Are we able to?
So this is CBSI.
Okay. And again, no shame to them, but quite honestly, how some of these people compile their top 10 lists is question. Like, I don't even understand.
But they actually just put out a statement today where they denounced it.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, really? Well, maybe
they have to. They have
maybe
to.
because it was an exclusive, they thought it's more like a spotlight thing to them. Like, look, this is coming down the pipe. Like, let's, so maybe it wasn't them, saying, oh, we're going to, maybe it was just them saying, we know this is coming because C2E2 is hot. This is going to be a hot exclusive there. Let's put on a list to talk about. Maybe everyone's good. I don't know. I'm just kind of like trying to throw questions out there.
But you're right, Journal, because look. Either it is or it isn't. There's a controversy to this book, and it's selling. So they're not wrong. I just want to know how they knew so fast.
They're not. I don't know, man. It's like, how do you get? You're supposed to get the sales from actual sale data.
No,
but
not
if they really were watching sale data and sales all along, they would be watching like big time consigners on IG as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking on the top 10 runner up list. I don't see my sale on there that I did through Elite Comics 11 that broke GPA records. That's not on there because they don't look at all of the sales data. You got sales data not just on eBay, not just on you got consignment pages, you got auction, you got everything. And I don't think they're looking all across the board of all these sales.
And since you and I were in discussion with we getting a booth at Terrificon. When I was doing the paperwork for us, one of the questions was, are you bringing an exclusive? So the host entity knows if you're bringing an exclusive, because they will assist you in marketing that to drive people to the venue.
Facts.
So it was not just, oh my God, Friday, the first announcement. People knew this book was going to be at C2E2. That's a fact, because even a smaller con, not even to the standard of C2E2, I knew what exclusives were going to be there at what booth areas to navigate to them on Friday to get there. And again, Mitch had conversations of like, how can I help you promote this? Like, are you a newer shopper? Like, so I have to say that, Key Collector, CBSI, they're going to want to be a part of those conversations because they promote the hype.
They do. And so, we got to touch on that because that's a troubling factor. But Nola, you ordered this book did you order it through Whatnot or some other channel, and would you request your money back? And should they honor that?
Y'all are going to get a kick out of this because this is exactly what I was about to talk about. And also, I've brought this up a couple times. I'm curious that in this social media driven event that has turned this into such a huge controversy, why are there no pictures of people cutting the line? Why is there no video of these people cutting the line and going up there? Because if someone saw Skeff or Nerdy Girl up there with a short box, filling it up after walking through the line, someone would have been filming that shit.
I got you on camera.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, as far as the copy I bought it from the guy who owns CBSI. And then I don't really care. Like I said, I'm kind of curious to see what it's all about anyways. But then when he posts this thing he posted this afternoon calling out Black Flag for doing all this shit again and trying to distance himself from it, I haven't heard word from him about, hey, do you want your money back on this? I realize that this is kind of a shit show and maybe you don't want this anymore. No, not a word from that dude.
Facts. And that is a problem to me. If you're going to, because who got on live today? My man from Heat Seekers. My man from Heat Seekers got on live and he said, I sold one of these and I'm willing to give the money back. And he was calling out a lot of fuckery and what was going on.
And he was calling out a lot of nepotism.
He was calling out a lot of things, and we're gonna touch on that. But that's my question. If people are asking for their money back, is Whatnot on the hook for those refunds? Are sellers on it, or is it just buyer beware?
Could you imagine that?
Is CGC on the hook for selling that? And we're gonna get
that. You got to get to that because that's where I need to go.
Whatnot will be.
Yeah, Whatnot should be responsible.
Whatnot will be.
Oh, because they have a guarantee though.
They know they will. What a lot of people don't know about Whatnot, and this is kind of known but not known. So some of those big sellers have deals with Whatnot, and they cover stuff as far as like when that person sold that AF-15, they were kind of basically covered if they didn't make fair market value. Whatnot would cover the extra. I have an issue with that because Whatnot could actually get a lot of sellers if they actually did that with a lot of people. I mean, I wouldn't be selling my Fantastic Four on Elite Comics 11. I would have sold it on Whatnot because I thought the platform was actually pretty good. But they're doing it for a select few, and that's the kind of questionable in my, because you built the thing as for a community and for sellers, a whole bunch of sellers. Oh, we got our first 100 comic sellers, and now it's like, now we got our first, our main 10 sellers that we really talk about, and it's like that's not what the app was built for, and I think they're forgetting that. And you're gonna get a rude awakening when eBay gets their whole their live situated. That's all I'm gonna say, because thousands of eyes cannot compete with millions of eyes. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't know but I know Whatnot for a fact covers if you for a refund. I know for a fact they will cover it. I don't think you would get that item, but I think you would definitely get your money back.
Hey, just to piggyback on that real quick, that's another problem. That word community that gets thrown around so much, that's just a marketing term. That is purely a marketing term.
It does feel like a community, man.
We want you to feel like they're your uncle and they're trying to cut you a deal. Look, we all know who the community is. We all know who our friends are.
We do have a community, but there is misuse of the word, just like there's misuse of the word influencer. Yeah. So.
All right. I promised Journo we would talk about facts. And the only fact that I know is true is this right here. This is pure data. You can't lie about it. It's blue as can be, and it is driving me insane. I could care less about anything else. This, to me, is the biggest issue with this controversy.
So let me preface this journal by saying Matt is the biggest CGC stan, right? There is no other company. I know you talk about PGX, and you have relationships. Shout out to you for pubbing other companies out there. CBCS couldn't hold a candle for Matt. Like, it's CGC or bust, right? And this right here has hurt his heart because
It's
he
not. When
sees
I
this.
woke when I woke up and I had 65 messages in my Instagram about how could CGC be doing something like, I didn't even know what happened at this point. I was literally waking up at 6:30 in the morning trying to figure it out, and I got literally just like hate mail, like, bro, a 9.9 on an acetate cover. I'm like, a what? A what? A cover? A what? Who? What are we talking about? But then when I did my research, yo, I can't stand behind this. I can't do it. This cut me deeper than anything. And just so people know, let me go over the data. Right now, we have one CGC 10 gem mint. We have 5 9.9s, and we have 4 9.8s. How? Look, again, if you want to talk about, again, marketing, and this thing was supposed to come out on Friday, the only way you would have had those grades if you would have sent them early, fast tracked them, and everything else. So to say that people didn't know this was coming, they knew it was coming. And when they got the grades back on the first set, they fast tracked and saw that they got 9.9s and 10s, they knew it was going to be a hit. This is the biggest controversy, in my opinion.
There isn't a 9.6. There isn't a 9.6. It's all 9.8, 9.9, and 10.
It's a piece of plastic. It's like a metal cover. It's like that almost guarantee. But the fact of the matter is, it's a fucking blue label. And I'm sorry, I'm mad. I'm mad as can be, because this opens the door to every single other book. It doesn't matter if it's a Hawk #1 or an AF-15. If I can go and staple a new cover on that book and you're going to give it a blue level, and now they have to contest to that because this is in the market, it's fucked.
Speak to me, Journal. Preach.
Let me hear your thoughts on this. So a couple things here. I am anti-conspiracy theorists in the comic book community. Like and no offense to anybody in the chat, but I've been reading it through the chat and I see it. We jump to stating, oh, Key Collector does this or CGC does it, and it's like, Whatnot does this. Okay, scale back. We jump to conclusions so much in so many terms, like market manipulation, are thrown around way too loosely. But there's times where things happen, and how can we not at least question and assume what the hell is going on here and why? What is the intent? So with that being stated, these are my questions. Anybody can do business with a publisher like Marvel or DC or Valiant or whatever to get exclusive variants produced, just like Black Sands does. So when you do that and you order your 3K minimum run, you get your artist, you design your cover, and I'm asking this question to everyone on the panel. That is produced by Marvel, right?
Yes.
Marvel produces that.
Correct.
And you are you're a retailer at this point. You're a dealer at this point. You go through the process, whoever the middleman is, whether it's Diamond or Penguin or whatever, they're bringing you the books. Now you, as the dealer of the retailer, now have those books in your possession to sell as a Marvel produced product. So we already know Marvel didn't know it. Well, we're assuming that we know that Marvel didn't know about this.
About the acetate cover. They didn't know about the actual book.
Yeah. Exactly. So this, unless these books were brought back to Marvel into Marvel's production center, and Marvel actually added the acetates and the 2 extra staples to it, how in the world is the leading certified grading company going to look at this and say this is official? It makes absolutely no sense. So yes, it opens the door. On Journo's Comics, I could go in literally, I don't even need to get an exclusive. I could just have a random book in my collection like all you guys are doing, staple something to it, and send it into CGC and put in the description like, this is a Journo's Comics acetate exclusive, whatever. And CGC, you better give me that blue label. And matter of fact, you better not look at these extra holes that I punctured in the original book, and you better not take it down a notch or give me a green label or whatever it is. You better give me that blue label.
Blue label, buddy.
High grade, high grade.
So I was told at one point in time that CGC, as long as you pay a certain price, will grade your books at a certain way. I don't know, and this is again, I don't have facts here.
I can't have that blasphemy on here. I gotta get muted. Get him out of here. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I can't
that
have
was.
that.
I don't know where you're going with that one, Sans.
Get that blasphemy.
Is that a part of like how if any way, any form, how in the hell did 4 Staples get through what we're talking about, a CGC Academy? We just went through a CGC Academy where everybody, and my man Deep Dive is in the goddamn chat, who went through the CGC Academy, and he will tell you they quizzed him multiple times. If he would have came across a 4 Staple book, no way in hell he could have gave this a blue label.
And
so
how is that? Three graders, not one, not two, not three. Three graders that looked at the same book and all said 9, 9, 9, 8, 10.
How? So is this right here where we really should be pointing the finger? Like
100%, in my opinion, 100%. This is the only true fact. This is the only true fact.
Well,
how is this able to happen?
I wouldn't use the term pointing fingers because that has such a derogatory, but we're posing the question. We have to pose the question in order to hold people accountable. And I think that's more of a productive way to put it. I know maybe I'm, cherry picking here, but I think language is very important in terms of how we communicate these things. It's not even about pointing fingers at CGC, trying to blame them for something, but it's about asking the right questions and getting answers to these questions, because we as consumers,
all roads
deserve it.
Lead to black flag. All roads lead to black flag. You know why? We know why I say that? Because they submitted these books. They had to submit paperwork for these books. I'm pretty sure they submitted paperwork saying that yes, they were approved to put an extra cover on this book. I'm just going by, and those are facts that you have to state when you're doing stuff with CGC. You have to tell them what you're submitting.
But look at the title. It is truly, it's dated the old facsimile edition.
I understand that, but I'm just saying
11/21. The only thing they added was acetate cover.
I'm saying that they added that, but they had to get I'm pretty sure they had to submit paperwork to CGC stating this.
I mean, you can write in CGC if you want to call out for a character, like Microbots. You could write like first appearance of bug in there if they don't label it on the label. So all the CGC did was write acetate cover. Everything else is based off the original facsimile edition that came out in November of 2021.
That's why I can't get 100% mad at CGC, because they might assume, that's why you don't assume things, but they might assume that they got approval by Marvel to put this acetate cover on top of this book. But
would Marvel approve the extra staples?
Marvel actually didn't approve this because people did just drop information about that not too long ago. Yesterday, Marvel didn't approve for this to be done. So
and CGC has come out. I've read it. I don't have a screenshot of it, that they stand by their decision on the grading of this book, and that sickens me even more. I'm sorry.
I got it right here.
Go ahead. Thank you.
It says CGC is fully aware of what we graded and stand behind them. I'll say that one more time. And it is right here.
Yep.
CGC is fully aware of what we graded and stand behind them.
That's the part that crushes the future, because if they stand behind them now, they have to stand behind them for anything else.
They're always going to stand behind the product, even if they make a mistake. It's CGC. It's Blackstone. It's Blackstone. What are you you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar corporation? They're not going to not stand by their product.
Jay-Z is going to make a song about this.
But look at Damage Control. Right now, they're 10 books in the hole. 10 books. If this gets out, the downstream repercussions of this are well beyond 10 books. Say, hey, 10 books were submitted to us last year. We thought this was approved through Marvel. you know, we had some problems. We see that this is an issue. It's a mistake on our part. No further books will be
I
graded like
want
that.
to get one of
Limit
these
it
books.
to the
Why
That's
10.
is
the
CBCS
I really want one
capitalizing
of
on
these.
this? Why
Well, I would
isn't
love
PGX
Nola to send his book to CBCS.
right? Why aren't they capitalizing on this right now, saying, "Look, folks, this would not happen at CBCS. This would not happen at PGX. This would not happen at GC,
Well, that would be if
BBCS would probably tell me. Like,
ECG, EGC,
You're-
EGS.
you're putting a lot of faith in the marketing departments in that aspect.
But this is what they need in order to gain market capital right here.
If that's what you want to do,
about
take advantage of the
leader.
situation. I understand.
I have to say this, and a shout out to Steve Burrock. I love him, great guy, very nice guy. But since he's left, their marketing department of CBCS has been stepping up the game and calling stuff out. They haven't been like, you know, I've seen them on IG doing it, so I could see them making some kind of statement about this late because lately they have been, but they shouldn't have got through to CGC. I'm sorry, somebody should have raised the question. I mean, somebody just said, "Hey, is this okay to have 4 staples?" Like
So
I would have been fine if I saw a green or purple. Well, we're talking about a blue
100%
label here.
100% agree. If I saw green or purple, I'm no issues.
See,
Blue
but I find
label is the issue.
I
So
find it
now
really
you're telling me does this open does this open the floor for you to say, okay, I got a Batman 1 that didn't have a cover. I'm gonna be able to marry that cover, and you should grade me as if it's a regular cover.
Yep.
No restoration,
no,
nothing.
because you don't have $1 billion.
Now you're talking about company and influence.
Strong, yeah, strong arming things.
So no,
That's
that goes
still
back
different.
To the root. That goes back to the root cause, because again, if you're saying again, you're talking about influencers, money, power. You're talking about CGC, money, power. You don't understand that sellers, consumers, buyers have the most power, because if we stop submitting to CGC, they feel it. If we stop buying from Black Flag feels it. If we stop watching those influencers, they feel it. We have the power, but we have to choose on what appeals to us to move forward. If we don't do that, it's a mute point. There's no point to go forward.
So
I mean,
also
you're
find it
still
really
gonna grade your books, but this is gonna be, you know, looming in the background. This is how I feel about CBCS when they have non-verified or verified signatures versus witnessed, because I know deep down there's someone in some basement signing those books perfectly that has mastered that craft and getting verified signatures out there. And when that story breaks, all their signatures are kaput.
So as far as CGC goes, I find it interesting that this is on the heels of their announcement a couple months ago about how they are reducing much of the wording that goes onto labels, especially as far as defects and
The transparency, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like what made this book not meet qualifications or certain, and they're going to reduce all of that language, but they want you to. So now it becomes so much better for a seller to get rid of a book with a flaw or a defect, because they don't have to. That's not disclosed on CGC's label. Meanwhile, on the heels of this right here, it's compounding what CGC is doing. And that is talking to the industry leader. Are we giving them too much power because what do they have over market? 30% on a book? Is that fair to say they have 15 to 30%?
It's well, it depends on what grading company, but I think CBCS has dropped it now to about 10 to 15. And that's not on every book. Some books on certain companies, PGX, CBCS, sell more than CGC. Depends on the book, depends on the time of the day, depends on a lot of things. The question I wanted to ask, Matt, did you look up the grader notes for that book?
I have it up on my screen.
Yeah, the link I sent it out, so you can click on it.
Okay, and I was just wondering because like if the grader notes don't even say it has 4 staples, now that's
no,
really
it doesn't. And it says the average grade's 9.87 out of the 10. That's it.
Yeah, because the grader notes should at least say that.
No, it doesn't.
But they don't even say that.
This is how many 9.6s there were. None.
Yeah.
That's how many. That's how many. Who that has?
But you have to
Here's-
understand. You have to understand.
Well,
I
it's
don't
printed on
expect-
Marvel paper. How do you get
Well,
9.8 ohms?
It's plastic. I mean, really, you have to truly crease it to create a mark in plastic. So again, I don't care about the grade. I care about the blue label.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
understand.
you can grade them anything you want. Because again, look at those big
100%.
Batman the Damned, the squareback books. They were getting 10s,
All
9s,
9s, 10
and I was
10.
Same with Last Ronin. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of 10s of those.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. That's no problem. It's the
It
label.
is
Because
the
the
color of the
label
label
makes
for me.
the future and the past of all of their. It's like their trademark: blue, untouched, unverified,
Oh,
unmodified.
I wanted to tell y'all about that thing about the black flag at Boston. Is it Boston?
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
here.
That was actually that wasn't real. That was somebody posted that on a Facebook group page as a joke, and I'm part of the group. That's how I know about it. I forgot to say this, but so that's not.
No, that's
real.
perfect because we want to debunk the rumors out there.
That's
man.
not real. That's not real. Because you read further, but they don't have the whole thing on that screenshot. The person was joking. You read the rest of it, but it was on a Facebook group, and that's not real.
So Journal, if I'm Marvel and this has happened, what is the ramifications either for the company, either Black Flag or CGC, in your opinion? What are the ramifications from Marvel's standpoint, because they're playing catch up right now?
Right. I mean, so much of the comic industry is the Wild Wild West still. And while I don't believe in over regulated policy, especially in government, like, it's needed. Regulations are needed. And I talk about this all the time within the grading industry, but also within other aspects of comic books. There could be a third party committee that is like a oversight committee. But we've seen how that could be detrimental, like the Comics Code Authority, where then you just get suppressed. You get an industry that becomes suppressed. So, usually you get people in those powers, and then that becomes corrupted. So you keep adding layers and layers of bureaucracy to rid the corruption or the stuff that's unchecked, and then you keep getting more of it. So I don't know if that's the answer. But for Marvel, I mean, for me, it boils down to the legalities of the contractual agreement with the licensing that they had when doing exclusive variants, and if within the fine print of that contract they broke their agreement in any which way. So if I was Marvel, that could mean I'm not doing any business with Black Flag in the future. I cut all licensing agreements. Or if I wanted to, but Marvel's not, because they're not, it's going to cost them more money just to pursue something, but you can pursue legal action, a breach of contract. But like I said, they're not going to do that because that's petty and it's just not going to be worth it for them. But if I was Marvel and I really cared about my brand, and we know that incentive variants, exclusive variants, store exclusives, all these things are a huge driver of the comic book market right now in the industry. And while maybe Marvel isn't, people argue this all the time, well, how is Marvel, a publisher, benefiting off the secondary market? The publishers are always benefiting off the secondary market, and here's why: because the secondary market is what keeps collectors in the hobby. It keeps them on the edge of their seat. It keeps them buying.
Yes. Absolutely.
So and it gives Marvel now as a publisher the fuel then to say, we're dropping 30 variants for this new #1. We're working with, this store, whatever, Midtown exclusive. We're working with, anybody that's making exclusives out there. So even though it's not money in their pocket, they're benefiting from it. If I was Marvel, I would absolutely, because what did I say earlier in the show? I, as a businessman, highly believe in the culture that I build my business on, and that consumer perception matters. So I would say, if there was a breach of contract with Black Flag, I'm not doing business with them anymore. But here's the problem, and I'll end on this note:
Clayton Crane.
Is Nah, as long as consumer perception doesn't change, nobody needs to do anything different. So, and again, it goes back to
That's
our
facts.
powers. It goes back to how
That's
we
facts.
react to these things. So we can pick up our phones and we can blame
But-
influencers, we can blame CGC, we can blame all these people, but then we put our phone down, we go to sleep, we wake up the next morning and we're FOMOing out on Whatnot or at that next con,
But
camping out in the
this-
tent, the night before.
I agree
and-
with you. I agree with you, Journal. But has this not created the most in terms of backlash?
I do.
This
agree.
is one of the biggest backlashes that I've seen
Yes.
in in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of
Yes.
in terms of the comics and the cons and the influencers
The
themselves.
layers.
The layers to this, there's so many layers to this onion. The backlash is so deep, and Marvel hasn't even spoken yet. They just said we were not aware of this, but I see this as something different, man. I see this as you know how Nas came through with ether, right? This right here could be ether for certain individuals in the industry, certain exclusives.
No,
I don't know, man. This right here is different to me.
It's not gonna. This is not gonna change a single solitary thing. First of all, we are overestimating our own value as 5,000 people on Instagram. We are not that important.
That's
Thank you.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Influencers.
Let's not forget,
Influencers.
we are not important. We are, like I said, maybe 5,000 people that gave a shit about this, and I doubt it's that many. Because
it's
look,
interesting because
eBay-
the news has
eBay,
broken
that
all
book-
weekend, and people are still buying this like crazy.
Yeah,
That's what
as
I'm
I
saying.
said,
On eBay, that
come
book- that
come
book is-
October, this will be a non-issue.
that book
Come
is
next week,
selling
it'll be a
all
non-issue.
day for $350 on eBay.
Yep.
All day raw.
And it's
$350.
probably going to sell
Nobody
for more
cares.
because of this.
Let me.
think
I
in the
want to say.
long run,
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Sans. I agree that this does feel different, but with what the other guys are saying, I think reigns true too. But I will say this, and this is being an optimist. But every time I go to like a river or a creek, I always take out a stone and move it. One that's already, I take it out and I move it. And I sit and I think about 1,000 years from now when I'm dead and gone and whatever, like I forever change the that string. And what I'm saying is, while I agree that it feels different, but while I kind of agree that, we're probably going to be sitting here doing the same thing still, we have to hold some type of optimism to believe that nothing ever changes by sitting there saying nothing's going to change. It starts with that one stone or that one pebble changing the flow of that stream. So you know what? We may be here talking until our freaking lungs collapse and until we're blue in the face. But I'm telling you, if we keep talking about it and we keep doing it in a productive manner, slowly but surely,
that's
maybe
a good point.
it eventually will.
That's a key point because there's a lot of controversy with people making these posts in terms of controversial posts that are going to get forgotten. But if people keep this alive, but look at my man Keith. He's saying this is a flash in the pan. We've heard from multiple people saying Swaggle right? Swag said, look, this is not a big issue, man. What we're seeing is controversy for a moment. This won't last. We heard from others who said, listen, man, this nothing's gonna change. And I agree with you, Journal. I think changing the course takes time. But
I disagree that it's a small issue because
I agree with you, Kyle. And I wanted to pivot to what I see in the chat, multi-billion-dollar industry. And that speaks to our connectivity to the recent rise of Whatnot. And for all purposes, for transparency, I'm a seller on Whatnot. We got multiple people who sell on Whatnot.
Yeah.
Right, but Whatnot also has what they put people on the payroll, and those payroll people are there to do a job. And did they fail the community at this point in time in terms of their job of being transparent about what this was and how they sold a book is that billion-dollar industry chugging along and not being held accountable as well, just like we're holding the individuals accountable. You got a lot of people calling out the individuals who work for Whatnot, but they're not calling out Whatnot per se and really raising the ranks on that. So is that the problem?
They're not going to call out Whatnot. It's
Yeah.
going to be like the CGC fiasco, if you remember. People, are y'all still mad at the raising prices of CGC? I don't
Nope.
see anybody talking about
No
that.
one
You know
cares.
why? But you know why? Because we gave you free graders notes on books that don't have any notes. So
That's the funny part of that.
you know what Whatnot's going to do? They're going to give an exclusive away to every seller on there. And then you're gonna be like, "Oh, thanks, man. I wanted that Tyler Kirkham, that Battle Beast cover, man. Thanks, man." And we're gonna put your names on the backs, and we're gonna forget about it because you can sell that book and make a little money. But yeah, it's people are gonna forget about it. If people can't remember about CGC's raising price, I don't think they're gonna worry about this in 2-3 months from now.
Yeah, that's fair. We're not even talking about the price raising or the price raises.
Well,
Even
yeah,
though
the
everything's
same
going
thing,
up.
Like I said, that announcement when they decided they weren't going to list shit on the labels anymore. Nobody even says anything about that anymore. It'll all be gone. And
Personally, I don't grade books. So.
You know, dealers are promoting that now.
Sure.
No, dealers are promoting that now, and I hate to go sidetrack a little bit because if this kind of goes towards the thing what CGC did. Dealers are promoting now. If you buy this book from me, it says tape on the cover. Hey, if you resubmit it, it won't say that anymore.
Right.
They've been doing that, and I was like, really? I was like, you're promoting that? I was like, so that's basically the same thing with this UF Force fiasco. They like you people are gonna be like, hey, just send it to CGC. You won't see the 4 staples.
And that's crazy.
To borrow Journo's analogy about the rock in the river, let's say that this really does become something. Let's say our 5,000 voices turn into 100,000 voices, and somebody actually gives a shit and pays attention. What's going to happen is they're going to make the very smallest course correction possible. They're going to take that rock and move it as little as they can to assuage the most amount of people to get them back where they believe they need to be. And if
Exactly.
that's, just don't want to use names or anything, but if that's lopping off an influencer and going, hey, we weren't behind this, we don't want anything to do with it, and leaving him out to dry, then maybe that's what happens. But who knows?
Like our Marvel getting rid of Black Flag. I mean, that would be the major step. If Marvel said, you know what, since y'all alter something without our approval, I'm sorry, you're not gonna be able to sell Marvel's exclusive anymore. That would, you want to see some water shake? That would be some, but that's not gonna happen though. But
Marvel's gonna make a deal with Black Flag to get some cash out of this, and they're gonna distance themselves as much as humanly possible. See, this is operating on a level that none of us will ever comprehend, probably, because we are talking world-changing money. We are talking billions and billions of dollars. This is not even a drop in a bucket. This is a molecule.
So is accountability just out the window, though, Nola? Is accountability out the window?
Honestly, for the most part, I mean, we're now
nothing from Black Flag, nothing from CGC, nothing from Marvel.
Nothing.
2 months from now, done deal, Journal.
Is
that what you feel?
The answer to that is exactly what Journo said. If they can, then yes. Why would they?
Will the influencers change it? But will the influencers take the brunt of this then?
No, because they're bringing on new people every day, and the influencers aren't impacting the true collectors. The influencers aren't here for me. They're not here for you. They're not here for me. They're here for the Sally Joe Sam who just picked up comics yesterday and saw that 300 people were on this chat, and it's a cool thing, and I need to get that Funko Pop.
The influencers are here for those card collectors and Funko Pop collectors on Whatnot, because that's the major people that buy on
Whatnot started as pops and cards. I was buying like $2 Funko Pops on Whatnot when it first started. and they were this small server. Their app crashed all the time. They still haven't fixed those problems. Main reason I don't sell on Whatnot. I got approved in 4 days because of the same reason that I'm talking about today, and it's nepotism and cronyism. It's who you know. It's who you know in the industry.
I told you to use my name, Kyle. That was good.
Yo, I had to wait.
That's what I'm saying.
And I
That's
agree
what I'm
with that.
saying.
I had to wait several months, and then a friend said, "Oh, you want in?" And got me in the next day. I got the
4
interview
days. I could do a
process.
live show.
I was like, "Wait, what happened? How did that happen?" But again, I agree. Journal, you were
I
about
want
to
to
say
speak
something.
to. I'm gonna play some devil's advocate here and Matt
Go
a
for
little
it.
bit to what you said too. And I'm not disagreeing, but I'm gonna pull what I think is kind of problematic about the language that just happened. We are creating labels. Throughout history, human beings have created labels. You had Europeans that traveled down into the continent of Africa that sat there and watched the native people and journaled in their books and talked about what these people did. They took notes. They stole the mathematics and the science from them, but they created labels and found ways to where they can put them in boxes so they can socioeconomically control the state of things. And unfortunately, we're doing that right now by saying influencers are only doing this. Real collectors, it's like, and I used this analogy last night on my stream. I am a musician. I'm a rapper in my past life. All right. I had my little 15 minutes. You know, I did music and tour with artists that I came up listening to, and I quit my day job and I went and did that for a couple of years before life got in the way. And in my music, I am very grimy. You know, I'm from the Bay, born in Oakland, Richmond, Cali. I'm grimy, but there's always a message. I wanted to change the world with my music. You know, Tupac saved my life. So if you guys understand what the message that Tupac was pushing, he had a quote. I'm not saying I'm gonna change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain that will change the world. I live to be that brain, and that's what I wanted to do. My point is, within hip hop, you for so many years you've had labels: conscious hip hop, gangster rap, a new one, mumble rap. So now you got old heads looking at this new generation, and because it sounds a certain way, looks a certain way, smells a certain way, it's mumble rap. But if you actually listen to some of it, like Polo G, who that's my dude, like if you maybe a lot of it sounds the same, it's auto-tune, but if you listen to what he's saying, he's talking about, man, I let my mama down, and
don't forget drill rap. Drill rap is the biggest.
You know, it's like they're talking about some real ish, trying to get out of, you know, the realities of the life that they're living. But then on this flip side, you have this box called conscious hip hop, real hip hop. Man, that ain't hip hop. That ain't that. This is real hip hop. What makes it real? What makes what you're doing real and what they're doing fake? Because at the end of the day, all these people claiming real hip hop, it's an image. The only thing is you're wearing beads. You paid $200 for this big old thing of beads on your neck because, you know, Africa Bambaataa did it. And the other dude's got a big platinum chain on his neck because he's looking at Young Jeezy doing it. Like, but all you're both doing is creating an image. When you take off the image and you're out of the booth or off stage and you go and live your life, what is real to you? So let's pull back and bring it back into comic books. Where does the box of influencer fit? I have 12,000 subscribers on my YouTube. I started my YouTube because my kids were watching Minecraft videos on YouTube and said, Dad, why don't you make a video showing off your comics on YouTube? I said, okay. I did it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. A bit later, I got laid off of my job during COVID, and I went to my YouTube and said, I just graduated college with 2 business degrees, and I said, I'm going to do this as a business. 2 years later, boom, 12,000 subscribers, got a little bit of success, whatever. And along that line, for some reason, people that were there supporting me, and believe you me, I ain't never changed because that's not who I am. I don't change.
Journal, I'm just trying to get to 1,000 here, Journal.
I lose subscribers all the time because I speak my mind. I'm not a yes man. It's
Yes.
funny. One day
Yeah.
people thinking, oh, you're sucking key collectors, whatever. And the next day you're like, yeah, death to key collector. Well, it's like, I don't need to make up my mind because I agree with both of the things I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Back to
This
my point.
is
When I hit a certain amount of subscribers, those same supporters
Turn
started
to haters. Turn to haters.
Turn to haters. You're an influencer. All you do is talk of spec. And the irony is, I had this dude that supported me before I had 1,000 subscribers. I used to chat with them because I take time to talk to my supporters. I used to voice chat him on IG. And he started coming in my comments more and more, like telling me I changed. And all I do is talk about spec. But funny thing is, over the last 6 months, I used to do 2 spec videos. And my spec videos weren't really spec videos. They were top X-Men keys to invest in for under $25.
Right.
Like real, like in more long-term
Entry
investment.
level. Yep.
I've done like
That was a
2
good-
in the last 2 months, and he's coming at me saying I changed. So let me calm down a little bit and let me get off my high horse and give other people the floor. the point I'm trying to make is this, and Matt, I don't mean to. I hope my rant doesn't.
No.
You.
We feel you. We feel you. Continue, brother.
But like we really got to do better with drawing these lines in the sand, saying that this is the true collectors. This is an influencer, and the influencers only talk to these people that don't collect. Like, I remember the first video that I seen from Comic Tom and Gem Mint was where they were talking about five tips on how to collect comics, and it was like one of them was like make the hobby fund itself and all these things, and I was like, okay, I agree with some of these things, but then the others I was like, well, why do you need to, you make it sound like you need to flip comics. So
Right.
I did a video and I said pros and cons of Comic Tom's whatever. Gem Mint came in my comments and said, man, I appreciate what you said. This is what we kind of meant. We had a conversation. I believe, funny thing, I guarantee you, and I'm not trying to, drop names or say that any specific people are doing this, but I guarantee you that there are people out there that claim to be true collectors, but Gem Mint reads more comics than they do, but
I agree
they're
with
not floppies. They're not floppies. They're omnis.
They're
Who
omnis.
cares?
Yeah,
He
they're
reads
omnis.
comics. So how are we going to, and Gem Mint's the big dog. He's got 150,000 subscribers. How can you tell me that Gem Mint isn't a true comic book, I don't want to say collector, but head or enthusiast or whatever, because he probably reads more comics? I know for a fact he's read, I own 25,000 comics back here. And I guarantee you, Gem Mint, who maybe owns one short box of floppies, has read more comic books than I have. I've been collecting for over 35 years, and I consider myself a true collector. I recently got into selling because I want to own my own store one day, because this is a business. But that doesn't change the fact that I love comics, and I am a collector. I am a hoarder. I am all these things. And Gem Mint is in his own way too. He's also an influencer, if you want to use that label, whatever the case may be. So, final word, I understand that there's truth in what was just being said in terms of how we market these things and cater these things. And that is why conversations need to be had, because I do think the way that things are being marketed and the way that we're catering things, we're walking on a cracking foundation.
So what happens? What happens, Journal,
That's a good
when
point.
you see one of these so-called influencers, and I know we're diverging topics here, but
I got an example.
talking about the influencers themselves, say this is the book that represents X, the first appearance of X, or this is the book that must be represented, and you have a disagreement, but that person has so many followers and they create the market itself.
Well, first off, again, what did we say earlier about us giving us too much power? Why are we giving Comic Tom and all these other people so much? Let's not give them that power. You know what I do? And I built a relationship with Comic Tom. I have nothing but respect for him. Do I agree with everything he does or says? No. He recently did a video. It was a video talking about the AF-15 2.5. And in that video, he called it a $40,000 book. I went in the comments and said, Tom, Respect you, but I disagree. And you know what I did? I went and grabbed all of the data, and broke it down to why this book has never been a $40,000 book, just because there was one or two outliers.
Outliers.
Right? And okay, and you're pitching it, the people are getting whatever. So Tom never responded. I've never personally talked to him about it. But look, if Tom read that and maybe he took it in, whatever, okay. That at least I'm trying to have the conversation. Maybe some of his followers read it and I'm trying to have the conversation. Let's go back to the key collector issue. Always passionate about things that I believe in. I made videos, I talked about it, and Nick was like, I'm staying away from you because you're just, but I built a relationship with Nick now. Now we have dialogue. Now we have conversation. So we talk about throwing the pebble in the stream. I swear to you, when I was making those videos saying I disagree with how Key Collector is labeling a few of these books, I never, ever thought that I have any type of relationship with Nick or Tom or any of these people. Now I do. And it's a relationship that I'm not sitting on a pedestal saying that they're benefiting because they're listening to me. Nope. We are listening to each other.
You are keeping your ears open. You're hearing each other and listening.
Two-way street. Absolutely. Street. Again, maybe my influence or their influence on me or my influence on them, maybe we can't, the outside looking in, people can't see it and visualize the change. But the river knows those pebbles are being thrown and so, I mean, that's all at the end of the day. That's all we can do.
So these influencers have risen over the past 2 years. COVID has changed the industry. The amount of influence has changed in terms of Key Collector, CBSI, other avenues in terms of getting influence as to why, because there's so much money coming into comics right now. People are able to direct people.
I don't know. I think the stimulus chip stopped, so the money has stopped.
No, but you had bigger investment. You have bigger investors who chose to come into comics. They said, okay, I'm done with cards. I'm going to invest in comics. Bought up all of the blue chips, all of these other silver goodies, right? So money is there, and that's where you get the whatnots and the others from the world, right? But what I'm saying is, at this point in time, what is and I want to start to wind down as we kind of get ready to close the show. But what is your words of wisdom, each one of you, in terms of, what we have witnessed with C2E2, right? Because there's been, 10 other cons this year. This is the first time where we've seen this type of behavior from the influencers get publicized, where we've seen, a dealer get put on blast, where we see CGC actually get questioned about what they're doing. But what is it that we need to take away from this as the nugget? And stop, continue. What I want to hear from you guys, what do we need to start doing, stop doing, continue doing in order to move this hobby forward as collectors, investors, having stock in this community? Start, stop, continue. Nola.
So I'm gonna preface this by saying there's a phrase that goes around every sort of collecting, whether that's fucking quilts or comic books or coins, and it's pay to learn. Sometimes you pay to learn. And from my own personal experience, when I got back into this, COVID got me back into it. The first things I sted on were Comic Tom and buying books from that Spider-Man booth and all that shit that I wouldn't even think of doing now.
Yeah,
but you pay to learn, and that's one of the downsides of getting into a hobby if you're not super wealthy, is you have to pay the price to learn more accurate information. So as far as things that we need to stop doing, we need to stop caring what other people are fucking doing. Mm-hmm. Collect what you want to collect. Yep. If you're not happy with what someone else does, that's fine, but just be unhappy with it. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. Just be unhappy with it. Things that we need to continue doing. We need to continue doing shows like this one, where it's just guys or girls, if there's girls out there, talking about comic books in a real way, or talking about collecting in a real way.
Yes.
again, I made a joke about it earlier, but I think a lot of times we overestimate our own importance in this, and we simply are not that important. But it's good as a group, and I'm not going to use the word community. It's good as a collective to create conversation within a specific area. And if that is what it takes to move to the next phase for an individual or for an entire group, great. Things we need to start doing, holding people accountable. It's been said 100 times tonight. I've been on a CGC rant for almost a year now. I can't stand them, won't send books to them.
Yeah.
But
Break my heart.
I understand, but now look what they've done to you.
I'm crushed, dude. I have a
Matt is still processing. To be honest,
dude. I'm 100%. I have a box that's ready to go, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
But see, this is for me. This is what I've had this problem with them the whole time. They are not accountable to what they do. They don't give a shit, and that's fine. They're a business. They don't have to. But the downside to that is, if we're going to continue to support them, then there's no reason for them to change. So until we hold them accountable for the things that they do that we don't care for. So that's my start, stop, continue.
Who that? Start, stop, continue.
All right, let me start by pressing the mute button.
Start by getting all
But the continued thing, I have to agree with Nola. The reason why and not to toot my own, I've probably been doing YouTube longer than anybody on here. I've been on it doing YouTube way before. Like I'm talking about, Jim Mint didn't have any subscribers. I don't even know if Journal was around. I don't think anybody was around when I've been around doing it. But when I came into YouTube, this was the form people used to do.
Yeah.
All videos. It used to be haul videos or unboxings or whatever you want to say, and group discussion. And people went away from the group discussion. What I felt that kind of brought a lot of people from in certain groups to certain channels that you might, oh man, I didn't know who that was cool with saying, or who the journals knew sayings, what people. These type of shows were very plentiful and very good, I thought, because you gave a lot of different knowledge that some people might know better. Like I know TMNT, but I don't know a lot about X-Men. I would ask Nola. He knows a lot about X-Men. I met a whole bunch of friends of mine who are Boston, Chris, and Uncanny Kyle Walker. Like that's another person I would say if I have any X-Men questions. If it ain't Nola, it's gonna be Kyle. But it's like these type of shows need to continue, and people just need to start maybe doing it once a month. Like if you have a bigger channel, you can do it once a month. What's gonna kill you to break away once a month? You got 30 to 31 days in a month, and you can do like a little group chat discussion. You can have your influencers or whatever you want to call it, or you could just have people that you talked to before in your group, in your chats. Yeah, okay, come join. Let's join to talk about what you think about what's going on with Marvel, what you think was going on about DC, and that gets a lot of different opinions and a lot of people thought ideas who might be from different parts of the world, because we're not all of us. Guess what? We're not next door to each other, so that has to continue. I mean, well, like you said, Noah said, we got to start keeping people accountable. We have to do that. We start these discussions, but we don't keep them going. I think we always need to keep starting the discussions.
Yeah, man.
And bring the topics up, because once you start it, it's continuous, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And we need to stop hating on everything. We just need to stop hating on everything.
Yeah.
But CBCS is so ugly.
Look,
that makes a lot of money off of CBCS.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I stopped myself from refraining when you said the market is dead because of a little text. That's not. The market that you're watching might be dead, but it's not dead for everybody. I can go to Elite Comics 11 sells tens of thousands of dollars of books daily, and they only have 31,000 followers. Imagine if they were, 100,000 subscribers, like my boy Jim. That I've probably known Jim longer than a lot of people that even know Jim. I've known Jim when he was just IG Jim.
He was
Raffling
just
books off. I'm just gonna be honest.
unpolished stone.
Raffling books off. I talked to that dude when he was, when he was in Miami. That's how long ago I know Jim Penn. People don't even know that he probably was in Miami at one point. So we just need to stop the hate, take a step back, and talk to people.
Yeah.
Because talk to people. I want to say talk to people like this, not in text messages, because text messages always can be misconstrued.
It's cold and unfamiliar.
Try to hear people's voices, because guess what? I'm from Louisiana. We got a different slang than somebody from up north, from Boston, like my boy Boston Chris. We got a different talk. Just like the West Coast, that I know some people, or even my boy Uncanny Kyle Walker, who's from New Zealand. They say some stuff that you'd be like, "Hold on, what? Wait, what?"
Let's turn it over to Journo. Start, stop, continue, brother.
Yeah, you both said amazing things, and I stand behind every word. And I mean, really, I think when it comes to what we need to stop doing is it comes with, being so invested in what other people are doing, in the hate and the reactionary behavior. But I really think it boils down to groupthink. And I use that term a lot because we don't know it a lot of the times. We don't think for ourselves these days. We jump to conclusions. We see a meme, we see one video, we see one post, we share it, and we get into this groupthink mentality, and that's where the pitchfork mentality comes from. And then we think that we have good intent, and before we know it, that good intent has become more toxic than that in which we're fighting against. And I always say this.
Exactly.
And I don't want to bring politics into this, but I have to use a political example. I don't buy into party politics, but it's like, when you have Democrats that want to, say, oh, Trump, they're calling Trump Orange Man, right? Or they're calling him names. But then you got, but you're accusing Trump of calling, being a bully and calling people names, right? It's like, okay, maybe you're valid in saying that, okay, maybe this is wrong, but you're doing the same thing. Like, how are you acting the same way? And what you're calling out, you are becoming that in which you hate, and that will never solve a problem. You got to be the bigger person. So we got to stop. We got to stop jumping to these reactionary emotional responses with groupthink mentality. We have to, and we have to challenge our own biases, and to educate folks that may be watching, like, whether you have a college degree, whether you make six figures, I don't care. Like, go to your community college and sign up for a debate class just to do it. It might cost you just a couple $100. Go do that, because I'm telling you, if you really want to learn how to have an argument, and I don't mean an argument like you're yelling at someone, but like argumentation, a real debate to where you could be a lawyer in court and argue your point. You need to understand how to argue against what you believe, or you're never going to win an argument. You would go in debate class and have controversial topics like prison industrial complex, abortion, and you say you get an abortion. I mean, this is extremely right, and maybe you agree.
People are polarized.
I'm gonna. Oh man, I'm gonna win this, but then you're like, argue against what you believe, and you're like, how am I gonna do that? And I'm telling you, that's gonna help people. What we need to continue to do. What do we got to keep doing? I agree. I'm going to echo you guys.
Stop, continue. Yeah.
What we need to start, I'll do start. What we need to start doing is just simply being better human beings. And obviously that correlates to everything that I just said. And I know that that's maybe easier said than done, or it's not that black and white, but we gotta start being better human beings. People think that I was just recently during this drama was accused of having a stick up my ass, but it's simply because it matters. And I'll go back to the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's it's the lamest statement to ever be created. Words are some of the most powerful things in life, in our reality.
Yeah.
They shape our reality. They shape our perception of others. They shape our perception of ourselves.
Words are spells, man. They're
Seriously.
spells.
We have to be better human beings. That's what we got to start doing. And I always use this as an example. If you have kids, think about how you want your kids behaving and how you want your kids to grow and live and what world you want to live for them. And it starts with us being able to, when we hear somebody that has a different viewpoint than us, stop acting like a high schooler and thinking that they're invalid and closing your ears off and not being able to listen, have that conversation. What we need to continue doing, and then I'll go off of that, is having these conversations like you guys said, coming here, having a voice instead of typing. That's why when people hit me up on IG, I'm like, I'm not bugabooing. I'm telling you, man, it's like, yo, what's good? Like, I'm sending you first off, I don't want to type an essay, but it's like, I want you to hear my voice. So guys, if you want to continue to make the hobby better, if you want to make everything that we talked about, if you want to move it forward instead of pull it backwards, have the conversation, continue the conversation, and be productive rather than counterproductive. One day at a time, one step at a time, one conversation at a time, and that's all that we can do.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man. I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna turn it over to my co-host, man. Start, stop, continue, man. Start, stop, continue. We're gonna do this because I'm an HR professional in my daily, and when I go through training and I go through everything, I need to know from my organization what they want to stop doing, start doing, and continue doing. And when I look at what's going on right now, I gotta say stop, stop, stop the toxic hate, right? It's okay to criticize. I think it's okay to challenge the norm. But when you hate on people just because and not, like you said, form the dialogue and look to have that conversation, if it's just hate for because, look, that person didn't like me, now I'm going to make it a big, the minute they have a misstep, I'm going to open up all of the wounds and cut them deep. That's where I don't agree with you. I think you got to stop the toxicity of it all, right? When you post, you know, Danny surrounded by this book, that wasn't her image. You created an image now of her surrounded by this book, and that's going to live in the in the YouTube and you know, the internet forever. That's not a real image, man. We've created a deep fake of what she is, and that wasn't what she did, right? So when you do that, and I know it's a lot of shits and giggles, but sometimes that becomes toxic beyond, right? And those people, you see it grows every day. They feed off of that toxicity. So one, I implore you not to buy into the toxicity of some of these behaviors. Like, hey, man, I understand that this is a sticking point for the community, but let's be productive about this. So one, I want to stop the toxicity, man. We got to be productive. We got to be focused on the positive, you know, positive aspect of it and holding people accountable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We got to start talking about why some of these people are allowed to do certain behaviors, right? The more we talk about it, the more transparency. And what I mean by start, I mean by talk about and be transparent in the process. We got to question the norm. Why is that allowed, right? A lot of people will say, oh, this happens all the time. People go up to the front of the line and they're able to get stuff, or people buy, you know, hundreds of books in advance. Is it the norm because that's how it's always been? Or is it the norm because no one's ever questioned it and said, is this what we need to accept? Or do people need to have Black Flag put a limit on this? This would have been a Marvel CGC thing and not a whole other section of things, right?
Exactly.
So we need to have the questions. We need to ask the questions and continue. I think there's a lot of love and a lot of growth in this industry and this community, man. We need to continue the open forums. We need to continue to have the NOLAs, the Whodats, the journals speaking, right? And it's not from a speak of hate or all like one-sided. It's speaking, both sides of the fact, right? Journal, I saw your rant, and it was about both sides of the coin. Like, how did this happen? And why are we allowing this? But also, why are we so toxic? And that's why I was like, yo, brother, I want to have you on the show. And that's what we need to do. We need to speak out about this and talk more about what's going on. So that's my start, stop, continue. Kyle, what's going on with you, brother?
Dude, lots is going on with me, man. But in general,
start, stop, continue.
Yeah, I got you. So this is the point of the show where I kind of take a step back and I get really like sentimental. So give me a second. I think we need to start rallying behind each other in the aspect of there's a lot of complaining, but there's no solution finding. Like we need to actually create solutions to these problems because it's been perpetuated for a while. We've been talking about like how exclusive covers have been kind of tanking the market just because of oversaturation. Same thing happens with Funkos. Like there's oversaturation of the market. There's constantly things being thrown at us, but like it is what it is. We live in a capitalistic society. If we take a step back and realize that we are the ones with the power, we can start to actually make change instead of just talking about it endlessly. Like there can be a rally cry. We were talking about it in the chat. There's a reason why I was quiet during most of this, because the real community is right below us, man. They're the ones talking. They're the ones showing up. They're like, look at the videos that were posted. There's 400, 500 comments just in the past like couple hours. Like people are involved in this. This is a topic where everybody, like I said, it was like a little bit of every side. There's like the all the different topics that we were talking about all kind of come to this conglomerate of like the actual issue. And the issue is that we're not using our purchasing power to make change. Right. So what I think we need to do is, if we don't agree with something, whether it be morally, whether it be ethically, whatever controversy leads to that, we need to stop buying it. It's that freaking simple. Like I don't grade comic books. I stood there with the most expensive book in my collection, and I stood at WonderCon in front of CGC, and I couldn't freaking do it because I knew that I wouldn't be able to live with myself, because the moral aspect behind it was, I don't believe in it. I understand that like you can make more money. I understand that it preserves the comic book. I understand all of that aspect, but to me it's just paper, and people should be able to read the story and enjoy it. Like there's no aspect of that behind me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here just bashing slapped comic books. They need to happen because we need to preserve history. I love that aspect. We need to continue growing. To be honest, we talk about how we have influencers in this community. What comic channel has had 1 million views on a video? Like how many have you seen? Not many, in my opinion. We need to continue to grow. Like when I first started, I created a Google Doc of just comic community YouTube channels. And it's just an ever-changing document where I invite you to go to the document, go to my Instagram, Promiscuous Time Traveler on Instagram, click my link.
Shameless plug.
It's the third thing down on my link tree, and it's a community document. Click on a channel that you don't know and subscribe to them. And then at the bottom of the damn page, you put your name, and I will hyperlink your channel to it so that we can continue to grow like that. We need to continue to grow because we're bigger than we think we are. There's only 2,500 comic shops, local comic shops in the US. Like that's so small, but yet we have like this crazy pool because Hollywood is pulling the stories that we read and turning them into massive media franchises. So this is the ground floor. We need to understand that we are together in this. So there's my sentimental rant. Start, stop, continue. Thank you.
Preach, my brother. Kyle, and let me turn it over to the man of the hour.
Why'd you
Last
make me go
level comic.
last? Like, that's the worst. Like, I mean, you put me,
Because
so,
you hate to be in the spotlight. I wanted to make you the spotlight.
I was
so
happy you put him last.
start by following all these people on here, just because all of them have a different viewpoint. I mean, Journo, you and I can disagree, and I love that about us. I love the fact that we can see things from different perspectives, and you can give me insight, and I can give you a pain in the ass. I mean, it's okay to have it both ways. Stop not doing your research on what you're buying. I mean, when you're in that line, you got to know. Don't give in to FOMO. Fear of missing out, it's going to bite you more than it's going to help you. Buy what you love. Don't buy what you feel like someone's telling you need. Buy what you love, because it's going to mean more regardless. Yes, you could have made $180, but if you don't turn that $180 into something you love, you're just going to waste it on something else. Continue talking. I mean, we talked about that from the very beginning, and we already talked too much because it's been 2 hours and I gotta go pee.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the continuity, right? We're talking about communication, man. When we say continue, everybody said communication, man. That is the key. We need to, and I know this is a small group of 6, but a lot of people on this panel have big influence outside. We need to continue the dialogue, continue to communicate consistently. And when we say hold accountable, I'm talking about from auctions, right? When we talk about auctions, we hear it all the time. Like, oh, this guy isn't reputable anymore. This guy doesn't, is a shady seller, right? Why do we allow that to happen? We have a voice. We need to, when we say communicate, we need to hold people accountable, and we need to talk about things both positive and negative, but from a standpoint of not necessarily pointing the blame, but just saying, here's what's going on. You need to be aware of it, right? And that's what I'm hearing from you guys. So, fellas, from the Cookie Man himself, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending some time, man. Again, we were not here to blast any individuals. We want to make that known. This is not about any individual, man. We think that you guys are great in the community and you guys add value to this community. Absolutely. We know that a lot of people are caught up in this, what is being called C2E2 gate, line gate, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people are caught up in this. And we know that you guys have family. You guys are loved by the community, and we don't want to add to any hate. We just think that there's an opportunity for you guys to speak up and not allow yourselves to be bashed. And we wanted to give that forum. Go to my man, and to you bigger companies, go to my man Chris's platform, go to Journo's platform, Black Flag, go on Journo's platform and talk about this, man. Because if you feel like you are in the right, we want to know why. Maybe you have a different perspective. Or maybe we're not thinking about it the same way. But at the end of the day, maybe we can convince you that it's wrong and that what you have done maybe has a detriment to the community. So from the bottom of my heart and with all of these gents, I want to say thank you for hanging out with us, man. This has been a candid conversation with the community. I know there's an opportunity just to throw a live out there or a video out there just for clickbait. But each one of my panel members had instant type of reactions when this stuff happened. And I had to reach out to my man Journo because I saw his YouTube and his reaction to all of this, man. So from the bottom of my heart, this panel's heart, we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. 2 hours strong, long pause. We don't want to, you know what it is, but y'all reach out to us, man. Drop comments below. Let us know if you have anything y'all want to talk about in the future, because we are going to continue this forum. My man Journo, we would love to have you back on. Who that Nola, you guys always have an open forum. Thank you so much, gents. Make sure you sum up this panel member, each one of these panel members, man. And at the end of the day, ask the right questions, man. Don't just be a hater in the community. Be an agent for change, and that's what we're looking for. So we love you guys, and we're gonna end on this note right here, man, because we didn't show this, but this is fucking hilarious.
Y me acuesto en su allá para abrir el restaurante que era el arroz. Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que a las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Mira, el bañador, en las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. ¿Y tú? ¿Tú? Había subido la marea y encontré una paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y a veces la vende paellera. ¡Asómate! ¡Mira dónde llega el agua! Llegaba el agua hasta el restaurante. Había subido la marea. ¿Y tú? ¡Ay, qué hacemos ahora! Con los dos sacos de arroz.